Relationship abuse.
What is abuse? Abuse is cruel or violent acts or treatment against a person or an animal. And there are two different types that we can see, physical and mental.
One of the major types of abuse is physical, and it basically comes when someone is intending harm on someone else. That is physical.
And then there's mental. And mental is whenever somebody is trying to pick at somebody's brain or like saying hurtful things that'll like affect them or their body image, and just basically like trying to break somebody's mentality down.
Personally, for me, mental abuse is more harmful than physical abuse at times. Alright, when you consider physical and mental abuse, you can find these in a lot of different relationships that we have throughout our daily lives. Starting with family abuse, and then we have intimate relationship abuse and work abuse. When it comes to family abuse, you find a lot of abuse with people who are failing to act on the part of a parent or a caretaker position, and it sometimes can result in a lot of bad characteristics that you inherit from your family, because sometimes these people are the most important people to you.
Yeah, so family abuse can really affect a child's growing up and their mental state and how they grow up to be. Then if we look at intimate and relationship abuse, it's basically two people that are in a relationship and see one another as a significant other, but one is not as loving as the other, and they think it's okay to either hit, mentally abuse, put down, and just give insecurities to.
In a paper we read by Dr. Jean King, I think that's how you say it, she described intimate relationship abuse as another form of narcissism, and it really comes along with viewing your partner with less respect. Maybe you have dominance issues, maybe you have insecurities that all come together with physical and mental abuse in the relationship. Specifically to a lot of us in college, there's a lot of common characteristics that we see in that are signs of abuse in teen relationships. Some of those are an unexplained change in behavior and also isolating from former friends. Name calling and belittling comes a lot with that too, because you start thinking less of other people. When you start seeing a lot of unexplained bruises or injuries, that can be a sign of either self-harm and self-abuse, or maybe other relationship abuses. It's also a lot of showings of anxiety and depression, and a feeling of constantly having to have a dating partner or an intimate partner to make somebody feel a little bit less insecure.
Yeah, so if you're looking at your partner and if you notice that they stop having empathy or remorse for their actions, or if you try to talk to them and they don't take accountability, it's kind of hard to have all that weight on your shoulders. So there are hotlines that you are able to call that are able to help you and just talk with you through it. So some of them I found were really easy to get, and there was like a ton of lists of them. So on the PowerPoint, you're able to click through that if that's something that you need.
And we also have a lot of really great connections here with NAU. I know that the Campus Health Center has a lot of options with that, and even you could even go to your RA or anything like that in your dorms, anything to help with a problem that you see.
Our next type of abuse is work abuse. Now, a lot of us in college, we have jobs because we can't afford it, like to live here off of our parents, and we have to support ourselves. And so we can define work abuse as a interaction with another human being at our work, such as a manager who is trying to belittle you or put you down. Ways that we can notice this is just like sabotage, threatening, bullying, verbal abuse, criticism, seduction. A lot of these managers nowadays, they don't care, so they'll do anything. I personally have had experiences with this with my manager. My manager called me a fucking dumbass. So that's definitely a way to notice work abuse, is whenever they're verbally assaulting you like
and
that.
I know I say that like a lot of, or every single one of these types of abuse is probably the worst, but it's because they're all worse in their own ways. Work abuse can also be probably one of the worst ones to experience, because that's where you spend a lot of your time. That's how you're making your living. Like all the benefits you reap from your work, like fuel your life. And when you're not having a good work environment, when you're experiencing abuse in that, then a lot of times that leads to a lot of other problems and even abuse in other relationships.
Yeah, and it's mainly common in women. So 1 out of 3 women are going to experience it, and then 1 out of 5 men are going to experience it. And it's created 39% of mental illnesses is that people don't know how to cope when they get harsh words thrown at them. It's not nice. It doesn't feel well. You're there for a healthy work environment, and nobody should have to deal with that stress that it claims.
And for a college student, having a good work environment and like not trying to experience these abuses in your work environment is probably one of the biggest things that can help reduce stress in like school and your education, because that is a very big stressful thing we all have to endure. I think we both believe, and you guys could agree with us, that abuse is something that none of us want to do, and I think one of the biggest things we can do to prevent it happening to us is try and see where we might have these characteristics and we might abuse other people and try and limit those. Anyways, we got it done. We learned some stuff.
Don't let anybody abuse you.
Yeah. Peace out.